Kyle Shanahan loves this young man, obviously made him the number 3 pick in the draft. Looks at him as someone who can elevate his offense to places it's never been before because of the ability he has to do a variety of things athletically, big arm, throwing it down the field, running around. It's his Josh Allen, and I think he's going to want to get him in there as soon as possible.
Next up is Cincinnati. The Bengals didn't do enough to protect Joe Burrow. Overreaction or no?
I don't think that's an overreaction. I think we were fine with them going with the wide receiver Jamar Chase in the first round, thinking that they would use the second, third, fourth to upgrade the offensive line. They did take an offensive lineman in the second round. He seems like more of a project, and then they took a couple guys later. I know they have great faith in their offensive line coach, Frank Pollock, maybe to get these guys into shape quickly, but still some questions there.
And then the last stop is Chicago. Drafting Justin Fields will save the jobs of Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace. Overreaction or no?
It's an overreaction. We've seen a lot of times in the last couple of years where the rookie quarterback did not have that effect, where there were changes made either during or right after the first season of the rookie quarterback. It has to go well, and they have to win, and we have to see quick development from Justin Fields, or else the hot seat that these two guys were already on will only get hotter. It's entirely possible, if he's great right away, that he saves their jobs, but it's an overreaction to assume that it will.
Well, so it's an interesting way of looking at it. Let me bring everybody in on that thought here, and I will start with Mel. Mel, you and I, again, we were seated together when this pick happened, and that was, I think if there's a signature moment of round one, it was the Niners taking Trey Lance, and then it was the Bears. Of all the teams who were wondering, who will trade up to grab one of these guys? The Bears did it. Do you believe, Mel, Justin Fields should be the starting quarterback in Chicago week 1?
I don't think you can say should be. I think this has to play out. Andy Dalton's there. They drafted a couple offensive linemen, Jenkins and Borum. After that, Daz Newsome, the wide receiver, North Carolina, and Khalil Herbert. It was interesting. 4 players after Fields, all offensive players. Like I said, 2 offensive linemen, running back, wide receiver. Give up your number 1 next year to the Giants. Obviously, there's a commitment here that Justin Fields is our guy. It was a commitment to Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert only played with the Chargers because Tyrod Taylor got hurt right before the game. Here, you're the starting quarterback. Go out there and do it. And he did it the rest of the year in a phenomenal way. I think they have to have a plan in place. Andy Dalton, I think there's nothing wrong with Andy Dalton opening the season as a starter. To say that Justin Fields has to be the guy, I don't believe he has to be the guy. If he's ready to be the guy, fine. And all that positivity now with the Bears is because of Fields coming in. Negativity in Green Bay with Aaron, who's raining on the parade on draft day, saying I want out. He picked the perfect time to rain on a parade. We're in Chicago, where everybody's all excited. But to think that he has to be and should be, I think those are words right now about Justin Fields we don't need to use.
Dan Orlovsky, your face looks skeptical.
He should be the starter. He became the starter the moment you take all those picks in the future and move up to go get him. It's his job to lose. There's so many reasons why. First of all, the weakest part of this offense is their offensive line. Well, an athletic quarterback can minimize the weakest part of your football team. Second of all, the only chance that this general manager and head coach have to save their job is to 1, win games, and 2, show that they chose the right quarterback and he is their future. And I think there's ways to do it. I think there's ways that Matt Nagy can go, Justin, this is your football team and this is what we're going to do. We're going to run more play action pass. Yes, because it helps quarterbacks. You don't have to know the coverage. Turn your back to defense, make a play fake, and then it's all progression based. Number 1, number 2, number 3. Doesn't matter if it's cover 2, cover 3, cover 4, cover 5. Number 2, Matt Nagy, promote his athleticism. You could sit there and tell Justin Fields, listen, bud, like if you don't feel comfortable or if you don't see it good, go be an athlete. It's a strength of yours. That's good. 3, cut the field in half sometimes. It doesn't mean he's not smart enough. It just allows him to play fast. And so for all those reasons, you could do it schematically. It covers up the weakest part of your football team. And you traded up to go get this young man. Put him on the field and make him show to you that he's not ready, rather than waiting to see if he is.
Mel, I'll come back to you in a second. But Dominique, I wanted you to bring up a point you brought up in the meeting this morning, which I think is important, that the timing of when they make the decision to go to him will influence a lot more than just week 1.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think that they need to make this decision very early on. So I say day 1 of minicamp, Andy Dalton's the starting quarterback, to give Fields a chance to find his locker, get his route, his driving route to work, let him figure out the building and understand where the lunchroom is. Like, that's it. Then after that, give it to Fields, because it's not just about week 1. You know how you perform well in week 1? It's about having all of minicamp with the ones. It's about having all of training camp with the ones. It's about having the complete attention of the coaching staff. Splitting that, I don't think is a good thing. I think Justin Fields is in a tough spot because that offensive line is not very good. However, it gets even tougher if they make him run with the twos or run scout team all the way until week 1, the way that it kind of happened for Herbert. It worked out well for Herbert, but just all of a sudden saying, hey, guess what? You're the starter. That's not the best situation for any quarterback.
Mel, jump back in.
Yeah, I think save the job is just incredible pressure on a kid coming in. I mean, you're going to save the job of a GM and a head coach. I don't like that kind of talk for a young quarterback coming in. This is what you have to do, Justin, saving jobs. Justin's just trying to figure out, like you say, what he's doing. Andy Dalton knows this league. He's been around a long time. Andy Dalton's going to be way ahead of where Justin Fields is come training camp and maybe even going into the regular season. So this notion you can just waltz in and Justin Fields say, I'm going to be better than Andy Dalton and I'm going to go out there and win and save jobs, I think is fantasy land to me.
But I think it changes the expectations. He doesn't have to be better than Andy Dalton. With Andy Dalton, if they win 7 games, they're getting fired.
Right.
With Justin Fields, if they win 5 games, but he looks awesome, they have saved their job. So I think that's the important part. Is it changes the expectations because they can then pitch to ownership. See, we found the right guy. He was just a rookie. We're getting better. Look at this. If they barely make the playoffs with Andy Dalton, I'm not sure how that makes the ownership feel about keeping him.
Nick, if he looks awesome, they're not winning 5 games. If he looks awesome, they're probably going to win 11, 12
exactly.
games.
Yeah, weren't we just talking about Justin Herbert? Like
exactly. And I think a big part of this
That's
too, Mel,
expecting a lot, though.
is aware of what the pieces that are around Justin Fields. Like, the pieces are not great. Outside of Allen Robinson, there's question marks. So you know what you're going to get with Andy Dalton. Here's the thing. If you start Justin Fields and a month into the season, 5 weeks into the season, you go, you know what, he's not ready. This is too much for him. You know you could put Andy Dalton in and at least have chances to win football games. But if you start Andy Dalton and 4 or 5 weeks in, you're a 2-3 football team, it's like, well, all right, we might as well go to Justin Fields right now. No, you start the process.
Quarterback, we're pretty resolute with that. We want to leave every avenue open for that to happen. So there's a lot to unpack here. And again, we have exactly the right people to do it. Dan and Neek and Mel and Dan Graziano is my insider. I will start with you. So Aaron Rodgers seems to be, from everything we hear, resolute about not wanting to play there anymore. So I guess my question to you is there reason to believe that he genuinely has taken his last snap for the Packers? And if so, how does it play out from here? What does it look like with him getting out of it?
Oh, I think there's definitely reason to believe that. At this point, it's kind of difficult to imagine him going back. I know the organization is talking about being able to rebuild the relationship, build a bridge back, but based on everything we're hearing, that's not the way Aaron Rodgers feels. So what happens now? Do they trade him? They say they won't, and even if they did, it would cripple them in terms of the cap, $38 million if they did it before June 1st, and then $21 million versus $17 next year if they did it after. The question that the Packers have to ask themselves is, do we want to play hardball and do we want to sort of call his bluff? Because if Aaron Rodgers wants to take this all the way and start sitting out training camp practices, they can fine him $50,000 a day for every day that he misses, and they can go after some of his signing bonus and roster bonus money, get themselves some money back. So that may be the way they decide to go. At this point, it's hard to know because it's hard to see exactly how resolute Aaron Rodgers will turn out to be. The June minicamp, mandatory June minicamp, is the next thing on the calendar that will tell us how serious he is about sitting out.
All right, so there are so many different pieces of this I want to dive into. Let's make this the first one. Dan Orlovsky, knowing a lot of the players involved in this as well as you do, what is your sense of where it stands right this minute?
Yeah, Greeny, there's been 2 seasons in the history of the NFL where a quarterback has thrown for more than 4,000 yards and less than 5 interceptions. Those 2 seasons were both had by Aaron Rodgers, and they are the 2 seasons directly before the Packers chose Jordan Love. You see, a little bit over a year ago, the Packers viewed Aaron Rodgers as like a declining player, a player that's on the back half of his career, the back end of his career, maybe a bridge quarterback. And then they selected Jordan Love. And then Aaron Rodgers said, hold up, I'm the MVP of the league. And the reality is you can't have both of those things at the same time. I heard Andrew Brandt say that. Aaron Rodgers can't be the bridge quarterback and then also be the MVP. It doesn't happen like that. And all that's happening right now is the Packers made a decision a year ago. And instead of it happening 3 years from now, Aaron Rodgers is bringing that decision